Hey guys, and welcome back to another awesome episode of Damos in the Class, where we are going to be reading Hello Neighbors Missing Pieces. I know, guys, it's taking us a minute, but we getting there. We're on chapter 9 today. But first, we just gonna go back and talk about chapter 8 in case anyone forgot. Anybody know what happened?
I do.
All right, what happened?
So Aaron and Nick went to the shipping department. Nick asked Aaron why he doesn't hang out with Enzo a lot. And Aaron said because he rather plays specific video games that his dad brought him. And Enzo's dad will have a good job. Nick's dad doesn't work all the time, and Aaron's dad doesn't work at all.
That's true.
And so then they left the shipping department and then they went to the Petersons' house. But when they arrived at the Petersons' house, Nikki realized that they were in a bad mood. Like, as soon as Nick's mom opened the door, Mrs. Peterson, she didn't even greet them. And then Nikki almost accidentally ran into Aaron's sister, and she's like, geez, don't be such a creeper. Like, they were just in a terrible mood. So leading to that, they went into Aaron's room. Now, since they seen everyone's in a bad mood, they went into Aaron's room. And so then they started talking, having like a deep conversation about what makes a bad person, or, you know, bad decision making, what makes you bad. And Nikki was like, you know, whatever bad things you do doesn't mean that you're necessarily a bad person. But Aaron's definition was, you're a bad person if you're happy when things go bad for other people.
Right, like you literally laugh when things happen that goes wrong, and that's just awful. So we do now see that Aaron is a little demented as far as how he's looking at things. I don't really feel like that's a positive outlook, but that doesn't mean he's a serial killer. Okay, so we're going to try to find out, because that's what Enzo thinks. Enzo thinks he's a serial killer. Nick doesn't really want to think that either, because he's found him a good friend.
Yeah, and Nick said regardless, he's still going to defend his friend no matter what. So he's still...
Yeah, because this is place he's hopeful about living, because of, again, Nick's dad works part-time as a newspaper editor, so they move from a lot of different towns to find work. So Nick is just really hoping that he doesn't lose out on a friend, and also that he's not a serial killer. So I hope so not either, because someone did something and we got to figure out what that something is. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started with chapter 9, and I think this time we're going to let Jalea read first, and then Jamir, and then I will close out. So chapter 9, guys, and let me get the right page. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready, I think. I'm sorry. Let me get it. Where is it? Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys.
That night, I lie in bed waiting for sleep to come, but my stomach is churning. I don't know if it's the tacos or the fact that my conversation with Aaron brought my brain back to the Golden Apple amusement park. I just can't seem to stop imagining what it was like when that roller coaster car went rocketing off the tracks into a tree. I must be the only 12-year-old in the world who keeps the newspaper clipping accident by his bed. It's become a habit to reread the same half article at night, skimming it for clues I may have missed before. I haven't had a good excuse to get back to the library at the university since I hitched a ride with Mom last time, so the second half of my story is still a mystery. Maybe I'm waiting for it to all make sense. Maybe I don't. Maybe I actually want to know how the story ends. I think about how scared that little girl must have felt, what the other people on the roller coaster thought when it detached, if they even knew or just kept rolling along wondering what everyone was screaming about. I think about what my parents would have done if it was me. The only time I've ever seen my mom cry was when Grandma died.
I wonder if she'd cry that hard if I died like Lucy Lee. Or I just accept that the reality that I'm probably going to grow up when a screen cracks the night and launches me from my bed. I rush to the window and push my forehead against the glass, looking for what could have made such as an English sound. It came from across the street. I'm possibly positive of that. And thought it though it sounds totally nuts. I swear it sounded like Aaron's voice, but I never heard him scream, and anyway, what would make him do that at two in the morning, 2 in the morning? But there was something there was something in the tail end of that that sounded so familiar. I stared out the window for so long that
my breath starts
to fog the glass. Nothing follows that one unearthly sound, but a swath of wooden
silence,
not even pierced by a young yowling cat or
skittering
leaf. Maybe I did fall across, fall asleep, I tell myself that I've been so wrapped up in thoughts of
morbid
accidents and crying moms that I drank the scream. I'm not satisfied with that. I'm not satisfied with that answers, but my stomach is starting to turn again, and I'm getting sweaty with my breath bouncing off the window onto my face. I open the window to get a little fresh air, and the silence of the night is once again interrupted that time by the faint but undeniable sound of music.
Good job. Ice cream truck music. Across the street, light glows from the crack under the Petersons' boarded up basement door. I start to have flashbacks of that night I've eavesdropped on the side of Aaron's house. The night Mr. Peterson lurked outside my window in wordless warning. But a memory more powerful than that is driving me now. The memory of the scream that woke me up, but somehow didn't stir the rest of the neighborhood, just like the music doesn't. I fight back the voice of logic begging me to stay in my room and not pop the screen from the window frame. The trellis is beginning to get rickety from all this climbing, but I don't care about that now. All I care about is getting close to the Petersons' house. Maybe I can just get a sign from Aaron that everything is okay, that whatever is going on in his basement is totally innocent. The drilling, the music, the screams, they're all just what? A play rehearsal? A murder mystery party? All just some comical misunderstanding invented by the short kid across the street with the grubby shoes? The dew from Aaron's lawn soaked my feet, and I stand underneath his window, the crooked oak tree releasing tiny droplets onto my head. I scour the yard for a small pebble to chuck at Aaron's window, and after a few failed attempts, I land one right on the glass. I flinch at the sound, then wait for him to wake up and tell me to leave him alone. Nothing would be more comforting right now.
Instead, Aaron's room remains dark, and the music from the basement cuts in and out like skips on a record player, setting my nerves further on edge. Come on, I plead with Aaron under my breath, giving his window one more hard try. But this time, I throw the pebble a little too hard, and instead of a pinging sound, I hear a pop, then a crack, and I realize with horror that I've splintered Aaron's window. The music in the basement cuts off, and the footsteps don't just fall evenly on the stairs like they did last time. Now they pound up the steps, thundering the shortest warning before the jingling of keys signals the furious unlocking of the deadbolts securing the door. Frantic, I realize this time I won't have a chance to get across the street undetected. The house offers no place to hide, no bush for cover or garage for shelter. The only place to go is the backyard. I regain movement and bolt for the backyard with the kind of adrenaline you hear about in the moments of crisis. Evidently, I have more power in my skinny legs than I realize. I lunge for the only cover I can see, a pair of oak trees directly behind the house that make for the worst hiding place ever. But I don't have a choice because the keys are rattling faster now, and the door is starting to move from its frame.
Just as I pull myself behind the trunk, a loud bang on the basement door makes my heart catch in my throat. I peer through the leaves and realize that one lock is still in place, and rather than
Patiently
unlock it, whoever is behind the door has given up trying and is instead throwing himself against the wooden door, flinching with each violent knock, I watch as the door limps bends behind the weight of the attack. The tiny crackling of splintering wood, sending a chill through my paralyzed body. With one more vicious thrust, the last stubborn lock falls to the grass, and a
hulking
Mr. Peterson falls through the doorway, red-faced and sweating, with a foam of white spittle gathering in the corners of his mouth. I hang on to the trunk of the oak tree and plead silently with my heart to stop pounding for fear that the animal that has taken over Mr. Peterson will hear it with his supersonic hearing.
I'm quaking.
I'm quaking so hard, I can see the leaves above me trembling, and I pray not a single leaf drops. I watch in terror as Mr. Peterson
scopes
across the yard in search of the sound that interrupted his work. I can hear his panting from here, and I begin to think the craziest thoughts. How my last meal will have been tacos. How disappointed Mom will be in me for using my powers for eavesdropping. How I'll never have gotten to test out my audio microphone manipulator.
How through this entire horrific episode, through the drilling and the window breaking and the door destroying, Aaron and his family have managed to stay quietly tucked into their beds, unaware that the boy across the street is about to be annihilated by their psycho dad. I watched as Mr. Peterson grouches to the grass and examines what I can only guess are the footprints I left in the dew. And that's when I noticed that there's a grave. Well, I'm not sure. It's really a grave, but there's a dead body in it. But it definitely looks like a grave. Excuse me, but there isn't a dead body in it. But it definitely looks like a grave. Mr. Peterson stands slowly, tromping his way across the lawn, and now his demeanor had a calmed a bit, as though the animal inside him has been suddenly tamed. He picked up his shovel. He picked up the shovel and started filling in the grave, even though I swear there's nothing in there. Just an empty, grave-shaped hole that I assumed he buries trespassers like me in. 10 minutes pass, then 20, then 30, as my legs feel weaker and weaker. Suddenly, I come back to my senses as the shoveling stops and Mr. Peterson steps to the sidewalk and then to the middle of the street, staring up at the window to my room, looking for signs of life. There isn't. Instead, behind him, his own tree. I swallow to wet my dry throat, but it's no use. I sweat every ounce of moisture from my body. I'd peed in my pants if I wasn't already as dry as a desert. Then, just like the last time, Mr. Peterson satisfies whatever compulsion he had in staring down my bedroom window, and once again he cuts a path through his lawns, stopping one more time to stare at the dented grass by the side of his house.
I'm positive he's about to see me. Even with the trunk providing cover, there's no doubt he'll spot my stupid teal shirt through the camouflage. I brace for my fate. The adrenaline no longer providing me strength. All I can do is wait in paralyzed silence to be discovered. But Mr. Peterson doesn't look up. Instead, he walks calmly, almost serenely, through the basement doorway, closing the door with care and methodically locking the bolts that remain in place after the carnage. I wait until I'm sure it's not a trap. I wait for the music that doesn't start up again, for the sound of shoes that don't touch the basement steps, for the cracked window in Aaron's room to open. I wait for a single sign of life in the house that was moments ago alive with the fury of a single hulking monster. Then I come out. I dread climbing the trellis and consider sleeping in my backyard just so I can hide. When I do make it to my room, I push my dresser in front of the window as a barricade. When I wake up in the next morning, I feel braver somehow. Maybe it's the light of day creeping in around the sides of my dresser, or the soreness in my arms that reminds me I had enough wits about me to hide behind the tree.
Whatever the reason, I lean against my dresser and return it to its place, staring at the house that had terrified me so badly under the cloak of midnight. You're not so scary, I tell the house and the man inside it, and I almost believe myself until I flinch a little too hard at the sound of scratching just below my window. They're tucked into the trellis propped against the exterior under my bedroom window. It's a folded piece of yellow notebook paper. Its edges fluttering and scraping the sibling siding in the morning breeze.
Retreating
back to my room. I rummage through my box of gadgets until I find what I'm looking for a handy little tool. I invent after reversing the triangle.
Wait, come back. So start over. Retreating back. Start from there. Retreating back to my room.
I rummage through my box of gadgets until I find what I'm looking for. a handy little tool I invented after realizing the tangle of vines on the trellis was where Aaron would be leaving me all my secrets messages. I finally find it. The grabber
I
customized using the extender from a pool boom and the lever from a pooper scooper. Then I returned to the window, carefully rolling the grabber and retrieving the paper from the vines. But when I unfold the paper to read its message, I feel even worse than I did when I woke up on the floor. He's getting worse.
I look out the window across the street and wait for the messenger to make themselves known. But I know it's no use. It appears they left behind more than a note, though. From the ground, a glinting catches my eye. I squint to see what it is, but the sun reflects off its surface, and I can't make it out. Guess I'm climbing you. Guess I'm climbing you again after all. I say to the trellis, which groans under my weight. At the bottom of the trellis, tangled in a thick knot of vines, is a dedicated gold chain, a tiny apple charm dangling from its links, a bracelet I've seen before. Something in my stomach hardens as I flash back to another apple, this one made of bronze, dancing in a fountain in the middle of the square, dancing around the picture of a smiling Lucy Yee, her wrist decorated with an identical golden apple charm bracelet. I turn the bracelet over in my hand and realize there's an inscription on the back. Golden Apple Young Inventors Club. I look up and down the street, but it's no use. Whoever left me the bracelet and the note is long gone. You're not far though, are you? I say under my breath. I look directly across the street at the Petersons' house. Something tells me you're watching me right now. All right, guys. So that was the end of chapter 9, and that ended. Whoa, I wasn't ready for that ending, guys. So how do y'all feel about that? I mean, just listening to the fact that, again, if you wasn't here with us, early on we found out that Lucy Yee was a 7-year-old girl who was killed tragically at the amusement park, the Golden Apples. And when Nick's dad met Enzo's father, they were at the square where they seen the plaque remembrance of Lucy Yee. And that's where Nick first seen the bracelet. And now the bracelet is at their trellis underneath his window at the house. Same identical bracelet from the girl Lucy Yee. And yeah, guys, why y'all think it's there?
That's a good question.
I mean, like, for real. Because the whole thing is, we don't know how the girl did. We know that a mechanical issue happened. Has it been said out loud if Mr. Peterson was the mechanic? That part they didn't really say yet.
And that's a possibility because he's doing all this work in his basement. He got all these supplies, all these tools. He could be him.
Because I'm starting to think that he's the mechanic and was the mechanic at that time at the amusement park. I mean, if I had to guess. From some of the clues that they're laying out. They haven't really said it yet.
Also, how Aaron doesn't want to talk about the situation so much. Like, that's kind of
let you know that
too.
you're kind of connected to it.
Yeah.
Because most times when you're connected to something, you don't want no parts of exposing things that probably, will make you look guilty. You know what I mean? I don't know, guys. Now I'm really, really, really wanting to know what's the story of Mr. Peterson?
What's Mr. Peterson's pick with looking at Nick's window? Because when Nick was in his yard, he was underneath the tree hiding already. But he kept on looking at his window like, what's that about too?
Well, I feel like he's looking at his window because he knows that he's watching them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing. Like, when you're watching someone, the person kind of might know that you're watching them.
Yeah.
And what it seems like the way Mr. Peterson moves around, he's an adult, right? So he has an advantage to be a lot more aware of things. I feel like he's looking because he knows that Nick is looking and that Nick is paying attention to what's going on over there, because like you said, remember the last time, if you guys wasn't with us, I believe it was chapter 7 when Nick went over behind the drill sound.
Yes.
And that's when Mr. Peterson was down in the basement. So Mr. Peterson already know that Nick is sneaking around looking at him. And remember, he gave him that look and said,
he's not the type to warn someone twice.
Right, so basically mind your business type of thing. However, Nick's not minding his business. Nick is still searching around.
Which is maybe why the scream that he was hearing, but looking by Aaron's window saying, oh, did Aaron scream? Why is he screaming so late at 2 a.m.? Maybe that was some type of plot or some type of way that he was going to try to get Nick to come over and just like scare him.
I don't know if it's a scream that I feel like he made more of a commotion about the screams not being heard by nobody else but Nick.
True.
Like everybody else on the block was like
sleep,
or acting sleep and not willing to come out.
Yeah.
So that makes it. How you feel? You still feel a little creepy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting a little goosebumpy.
Yeah.
But guys, I can't wait to get into chapter 10, guys. Like, honestly, we're just gonna definitely keep on moving past chapter 9 because I'm eager to find out what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know. And what is it that Nick is gonna see the next time that he look over there? Because I feel like when he goes to look, and that's the thing about looking sometimes, you see stuff that you don't really want to see. So I want to know how he got that bracelet, though. And why is the bracelet there? Because that's, to me, another clue, because it's her bracelet.
Exactly.
So I don't know, guys. But I know that this chapter right here was definitely probably the most intense one so far. So, guys, please leave us a comment if you enjoyed this chapter. And let us know what you think might happen in chapter 10. What you think's going to happen in chapter 10, Jamia?
I think what's gonna happen in chapter 10. The nigga's gonna find out that Miss Peter was a mechanic.
That might be true.
Yeah.
I know I would be trying to question and find out what kind of work your dad did, what he do, and why. I don't know why he got that bracelet there. Like, let's be for real, guys. She's not even here no more. Like, isn't that a part of her possession that you ain't supposed to have? Like, shouldn't her family have that?
And in the story, everything just keeps resurfacing. Like, it just keeps coming back. Some more clues about her, something that's just unseen. So, yeah, they definitely going to start digging into that in a few next coming chapters.
Yeah, I agree, guys. So, that's so much again for Chapter 9, Hello Neighbor, Missing Pieces. Again, if you don't have your copy, don't you worry. Just wait on us. We'll be back with Chapter 10 very, very soon. And, guys, thank you for taking the time. See you next time.